So this is my second attempt at this video. I posted it once already, and I wasn't unhappy with it. It just felt, I don't know, a little maybe overproduced, and I didn't want anything to feel that way. I wanted this to be more of an organic, just a conversation between people. Like I'm looking at you, whoever you is at the moment. Uh, I decided that I wanted to just kind of do it over and do it more in a style that I felt was less like I was in a corporate meeting and more, like I said, one on one. My goal here is to just kind of communicate what I've learned over the last 30 years interviewing different people. What are employers looking for? And how could you stand out, really? And it doesn't matter if it's just an interview or you're trying to get a promotion, it's like a promotional interview or whatever it might be, right? In my experience, there's about 8 traits that most of the time employers are looking for. And it's not just employers really. If you have all 8 of these traits, which everybody might have to a degree, then you're not just a great employee, you're just a good human being, right? So this is having these will benefit you everywhere in life. But let's just get into the individual traits. So the first trait is curiosity, right? So that is your willingness to learn, your willingness to ask questions, your innate desire to want to learn more, dig a little deeper. Some people I've met are just very happy being told what to do and very happy to just wait for someone to tell them what the answer is. And others, they really want to learn on their own. So they'll do their own research, they'll do their own digging, and they're naturally curious people. It's a great trait to have. It shows that you want to learn on your own and you're always trying to find out something new or develop a new skill. Really great trait to have. The next one is critical thinking. And this is like probably one of the most important ones you can have. Many of the people that I've interviewed just don't possess this skill. And it's a shame because critical thinking is something you're going to need throughout your life. We're always trying to solve problems, whether it's, how am I going to get the money to pay for the mortgage or get the money to go on vacation or pay the tuition or fix the leaky pipe. There's always a problem that needs to be fixed. And so critical thinking helps you think through those and not just the problem, but I've come up with 5 different solutions to fix the pipe, but which one is probably the best? Because I could do A, but it could cause problems for something else. So being able to think like one level deep or more than one level deep is just really important skill to have. And a lot of people just aren't able to do it. Um, Having that critical thinking skill, you can, dig in more than one level deep. You can see the big picture, right? You're not just trying to solve this one thing. Because what you'll find, especially in the business world, is everyone's looking for that silver bullet. Everyone's looking for that one thing, that one fix that will fix the whole problem. And it's rare that that ever happens. It's just not a thing. Usually things are far more complex, and critical thinking helps you identify that, right? So it's just, again, it's just a really, really important skill to have in order to navigate the complexities that you're going to be presented with in the workplace and in life in general. Now, I will say, if you're new hire, if you're new to the corporate world, or really any job, it's not a muscle that anybody's going to expect you to have. It would be great, and I wish more colleges taught the ability to critically think at a deeper level. Now, if you have been in the workplace for a while, we're absolutely going to expect some level of minimal critical thinking skills. And it's also important to know that every team has critical thinkers, and every team has those tasky people that will do the things that the critical thinkers come up with. It's really important for you to become more of a critical thinker than a tasky person especially in this economy. With AI taking on or taking over more and more of like the mundane and ordinary as through automation, there's a lot of like automated processes, agentic AI that's just taking over a lot of those things. Well, that's the tasky type duties. Critical thinkers will always need to exist. They will need to double check the work of AI because, as we know, it's not perfect. It suffers from hallucinations, also known as just errors. Let's face it, that's a bullshit term for it produces errors. So positioning yourself, training yourself to become a critical thinker will help maintain your position as AI. It just encroaches more and more into the workplace. So just really hone in, really focus on that skill, right? Because as I mentioned, the critical thinkers, they can come up with solutions and they can execute on those solutions. Tasky people can only execute. And if AI is going to do more of the execute stuff, then you want to be the solution identifier. So again, not to keep harping on it, but critical thinking is just a really good skill. The next trait is humility. And it's a simple trait. It's just your ability to recognize when you've hit a wall. So you've done the research, you're trying to find a solution, you've critically thought through the problem as best you could, but you realize, I need some help, right? Any more time spent on working on the solution or what you're trying to do is just going to waste time. And in business, you can't really waste time. So having the ability to recognize, I need to bring this to the team is enormously helpful. Not only that it saves time, but it's valuable in that when you go to the team and you say, look, I hit a wall, you're not coming empty handed. You're coming with ideas and solutions. And so you're not coming with an empty sheet of paper. Again, that saves time for the whole team. It might spur new ideas and more thoughts and more solutions. So it's just a great skill to have, just to know, hey, I've hit a wall. I'm going to bring what I have to the team. The fourth trait is being a self-starter, right? And this is kind of tied into curiosity, but being a self-starter is just shows that you can do things without being told to do things. So there's many people I've worked with that you give them task A and they're waiting. When they get done task A, they're going to wait for someone to come by and say, give me task B. And who knows how much time they wasted in between. So a self-starter will do task A. They will look for they will look to get task B. They will come to you and ask for task B. So they'll just continually like, hey, I've got bandwidth. Let me know how I can help. It's just a great skill to have. The next one is likability. And I'd say this is, along with critical thinking, this is one of the more important skills that you can possess, right? Your family, your friends, I'm assuming if I ask them, they're going to say you're a super likable character. People that you work with may or may not agree with that, depending on how often you get to work with them. But it's important to be liked. People like being around people they like. And they will often just forgive any other faults that they have because they like them. And the people that we don't like, they will get 0 passes. We will not, everything they do is pretty much wrong. And so having the ability to be liked helps you create relationships in the office. And that skill really matters, right? How many times have you seen, and if you've not had your first job in corporate America, you will not have seen this, someone who's in a role in a company that absolutely has no business being in that role. And that's probably because someone who's in a leadership position likes them, thinks they're a great person. And that will get you far. The world will eventually creep up on them, but the reality of the situation will eventually creep up on them, and they will probably be someone who suffers from imposter syndrome, which we can get into in another video. But just being likable can get you a long way. Just don't underestimate it. And when I say likable, just it's not a phony likable. You know, everyone builds a narrative in their head of like how great they are, and we're always the hero of our own story. Uh, but it's important to be truly a likable person. And so if you can find people that can be objective around you, that will tell you, hey, look, you know, these are the things I think you can work on. This, you know, you're a great person, except you have this issue, right? We'd really like you to be better at that. Bottom line is like, try to be likable in a genuine way and don't be a jerk. Um, your ability to be liked is going to help you tremendously, not just at work, but in life in general. The sixth trait is partnerships. And this is like the kissing cousin to likability, is another trait along with critical thinking that will be a tremendous booster to your career. Why do I say that? Well, your ability to create relationships, especially with people that you don't like, just in order to get things done, is going to be a skill that you will absolutely need in the office, because you are going to work with people you do not like, but you're still going to need to get stuff done. And if you're working on a project and you are not partnering with Department A, that leader in that department will probably have a conversation with your leader and say, man, Joe's just not the best partner on this project. And then you become a problem for your leader. And you don't want to become a problem for your leader, because now you're a problem that needs to be solved. Your leader may be great and have the courage and skill to have that conversation with you, or your leader may be not so great and tries to avoid having that conversation, which means you never even know that you're having this challenge. You think you're doing a good job, and you now have your leader upset and frustrated with you quietly, another department probably actively bad mouthing you or working against you. And when it's time for promotion, when it's time for raises, there will be executives in a room discussing who gets what. And someone there will have a decision-making input that will say, hey, you know, I know you want to give so-and-so a 5% raise, but remember, they're not the greatest partner. So that 5% goes to 3%. Now, you have no awareness of this because no one's talked to you. If someone has talked to you, hopefully you've worked on it and that 5% stays 5%. And so the same goes with promotions. You know, hey, we can't promote them. They're not really a good partner, and that department doesn't like them. And the job to get promoted is to be liked and create partnerships. So it's just something that will constantly work against you if you don't develop that skill. So it's really important to develop the ability to partner. It's not going to be rainbows and sunshine with every group of people you work with. Number 7 is integrity or honesty, depending on how you look at it. And this is just exactly what it sounds like. You know, everyone hates working for someone or for someone, with someone, for someone who will blame others for their mistakes. So be a person who will step up and own your mistakes. Say, hey, look, it was me. What can I do to fix it? Right? Your team will admire you. Your leader will admire you. So it's just a skill you need to have. And people will respect you for it. Right? And hopefully you work for a company that you're allowed to fail. If you're not, because you can learn more from your failures than from your successes in many cases. So if you're not working for a company like that, I suggest you dust off the resume and try to find a place like that, because it's going to help your career. You're going to learn more. There's nothing worse than making a decision while you're at work because you're in a state of fear all the time. That's like the worst experience. So bottom line, focus on, not focus, but develop or have a sense of integrity and honesty, and step up when you make a mistake. And then the last one is about positivity. And this is just like the energy you bring, especially when there's a crisis. And I'm not talking about like phony, positivity you see on posters and on calendars. This is real energy, because you can go into every situation as the glass half empty person. You can be the negative Nancy all the time, but it really wears on people, right? And people remember it. So bring the glass half full person. You don't want to be like crazy positive, but you just want to bring energy to say, look, I'm here to solve the problem. What can we do? Because sometimes you'll run into problems, and goes back to critical thinking, that will just feel completely insurmountable. But if you bring like, okay, let's just break this down. Let's think about what we could do. Go back to first principles, so to speak. People feed off that. People feed off the energy you bring. If it's negative, it'll feel like that. If it's positive, it'll feel like that. So just bring positive energy. And that's really all of the 8 traits. I consider them to be like the DNA, like the core of a good employee, and frankly, just a good person. Just know that if you work on these traits, your value as an employee, as a partner, as a friend, it just goes up. Again, these aren't just employee traits that are good. These are just good people traits. In a future video, we're going to talk about how you might incorporate these traits into your story, the telling of your story when asked about yourself during an interview. Because it's important to weave these in there so people understand that you possess them. Because when you go on an interview, you're just talking to a bunch of strangers, and you have to convince them that somehow you're the best candidate. So weaving in these traits will definitely help you get a point across that you're different, that you stand out. And that's really all I wanted to cover. And I hope this helped you. If it did, please hit the like button. Please subscribe, because I said we're going to put out more helpful videos. And I look forward to our next conversation.